Hello, and welcome back to the show. I am very excited about what we're going to talk about this week. We are going to talk about feeling hugged by your home. What does that mean? So, if you look behind me, the scenery, not my room, but you see this beautiful woods and the pond, and it feels so wonderful, and there's something very serene about it. And that's why we like to go out into the woods, right? That's why we like to walk in Mother Nature, because there's just something special about the way Mother Nature hugs us, right? And all we have to do it is to appreciate what she's given us. The trees, I mean, it's autumn right now. A lot of places, the trees are starting to change color, and there are all kinds of golds and reds and greens, and they're my favorite colors. I'd say my favorite color is October. And it's true, it is. Sometimes I wish I lived in a place where we had more of the color change, but I'm a weather wimp. So anyway, but if you look behind me, this gorgeous scenery, the pond and the trees, it just makes you to feel relaxed. So how do you feel when you get a hug? Now, I'm not talking one of those half one-armed hugs. I'm not talking about I'm talking about a real good, put your arms around somebody and like you feel them hug. And there's something very intimate that happens in that hug, because that's a hug that says, I really care about you. The one-armed hug is, okay, fine, whatever. I had a rep that I used to work with years ago, and he's like, I don't want no one-armed hug. I want a real hug. I want two arms. Because it's just kind of like, it's a nice thing you do to someone that, you don't want to get too close. But those real two-armed hugs, you feel safe. You feel loved. You feel like somebody cares about you. There's, unspoken. There we go. I can talk. Unspoken words that happen in that hug. And it's a place of being vulnerable. And there's something really wonderful, like, I feel safe enough here to be vulnerable. I feel safe enough here to let you see my weak parts. I feel safe enough here that if I need to cry, I can cry. That's what those big two-armed, real hugs mean. I have a friend from high school, and we don't get to see each other very often. She's got kids and everything. I've got work. Life kind of gets in the way. But when we do see each other, she's like my sister from another mother. Very few people know me as long as she does. And every single time she just wraps her, oh, Jeanette, I miss you. And right now, especially with the last couple of years, we're getting a lot of those I miss you hugs, right? And it's just like, it means even more now. A hug, I think, means so much more now after we've had a couple of years where we didn't do so much hugging. A lot of people are afraid to hug. A lot of people were afraid to see other people. And now that's going away. And there's something just really wonderful about a real hug. So, one of my clients years ago said to me, I feel hugged every time I walk through the door after you worked on my house. And I loved that. What a wonderful feeling to have your house hug you. And I thought to myself, that's really what my magic sauce is. A lot of designers, they have a signature style. They only do modern, they only do traditional. They only do Chinese influence. They only do gray, or they only work in shiplap. Whatever it is, they've all kind of got their niche where they feel really comfortable and they know they can do a good job. I have a friend who's a designer. Everything she does is white, 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 white couch, white walls, white cabinets. She's an amazing designer. She does beautiful work. Now, it's not something I like to work in because, it's all white, but she does beautiful work. So, because it fits who she is. That's who her personality is all the white. And so it's very easy for her to do that. And a lot of designers stick within what they do best. And I've looked at my work over the years many times, and I'm like, I work in different colors, I work in different styles. I had a house that I did, craftsman house built in the 1880s. In California, that's really old. On the East Coast, that's not so old. You go to Europe, it's really not old. Here in California, that's pretty old. It was built in the 1880s. And we did a wonderful job with making the craftsman come alive, adding color to it to make it something more interesting and more fun. I've also done really modern style and kind of everything in between. And one of the questions I also often get from my clients is, what's my style? They want to put themselves in a little box. But those boxes it gives you something to identify with. I had a client once that she liked the bohemian style. But if you go look at bohemian style, boho chic, you're going to see so many different variations of it. And all kinds of different colors, all kinds of different formalities, all kinds of different shapes, textures, styles. So, and the same thing with modern. You can have modern and do like a really bright yellow wall and black leather, or you can do modern and it's all wood. And they're very different feelings. They're very different personalities, but they're still modern. So I don't like the box because the box really doesn't tell them what it is. What I do instead is I show my clients, these are the things that match your personality. These are the things that no matter what you're looking at, you're going to look for these elements that are going to tell you what is it that is a reflection of who you are. So one of my little secrets that I like to use when I'm working with a client, it's not so much a secret, it's my magic, my little mojo, right? Is I actually use a wardrobing style that reflects somebody's energy. So it's not just you have brown hair, you have brown eyes, these are your colors, this is what you should wear. It goes much deeper than that. What's your energy like? What do you feel like when you walk into a space? When somebody talks to you, what's their experience of you? I use that and I reflect that in colors, in your shapes, in your styles. And it doesn't matter whether I'm working in a modern style or whether I'm working in a traditional style or anything in between, mixing them up. Sometimes you got to mix it up a little bit. Maybe you like one style, the house likes another style. We got to play with that. So we're looking at what is your personality, what is the house's personality, what's going to bring them both to life. So, for instance, this isn't This is not working. Okay, there we go. So I've got a lot of texture in my hair. I got a lot of texture in my clothes. Look at all the texture I have on today. Is this gorgeous? Look at all this texture behind me, and the screen, the greenery. That fits me. I've got a lot of texture in my room as well. There's a lot of textures, natural linen fabric that you're seeing there. There's a lot of texture. I've got lots of green. I've got the plants. I've got the picture of the plants, picture of a river and trees. Let's see if you can see that a little better. Here we go. Now you can see them. So for me, I need texture around me. That's really important. So if I have a lot of texture around me, that makes me feel comfortable. That makes me feel safe. That makes me feel loved by my house. Another thing that's really important for me is the right colors. So I said, I love October. October is my favorite color. And that's pretty much what my house looks like, October. So I surround myself with October colors. And that can be really bright. You can see I've got some bright colors in here. And behind me are a little bit more traditional October colors. So, and it depends on how I feel. So today I'm feeling really excited to do the podcast and I'm happy. So I wanted to be a little brighter. This is room I usually use to do more of my bookkeeping, more of the methodical parts of my business. So I need this room to be a little bit more toned down. It's got to keep me grounded. It's got to keep me focused. Another thing, I need a little tiny bit of whimsy. And so the birds in the sofa there provide a little whimsy, but it's elegant. It's not cutesy. I'm not a cutesy kind of person. I don't like the cutesy design. But the birds add just a little bit of elegance and a little bit of whimsy. And it also adds a lot of texture. So those are some key elements for me when I'm designing for me that I want to look at. And I want to make sure I have lots of green in my space. So I've got the plant in the corner. I've got the green in the picture because I need a lot of green around me. That's really important for my well-being, for my mental well-being, my physical well-being, is to have that. And so what I do when I'm working with my clients is I find out what's good for them. Because if you go look at my website, which is thecolorwhisperer.com, you're going to see not a lot of rooms that look like this. Most of my rooms don't look like me. I would only live in 2 houses that I've done. And one of them I would really enjoy for a little while, but I don't think I'd like it for a long time. But it doesn't matter because it wasn't for me. I didn't design them for me to live in. I designed them for my clients to live in. And what's a reflection of their personality? So I tend to get people who are going through major life changes. Maybe there's a divorce or a death, a widow. A lot of times it's even parents who have died. And when that happens, it's like when there's a death that close, it's like somebody goes into your heart and rips it out. And it's like, you feel like, oh my gosh, here's my heart and my hand. And it's, you almost look at it going, it's still beating. And how come I'm still alive? That pain, that heartache goes really deep. And in that space, you've forgotten, who am I? You know, who am I without this person in my life? Now, I'm a big believer that love never dies. And even though that person has passed on, they still tell us they love us. In those wee small hours, when you listen, you can be really quiet. You can still feel them, and they're still there. My mom comes to me every now and then, and I just feel like, hi, Mom. So, and occasionally I can talk, I still talk to her and get, tell her what's going on every now and then. And it's all good. And sometimes I can just feel her kind of give me a hug back. But anyway, I digress. So when you have that deep, deep heartache, it's really important that you figure out how to fill it. My experience is, how do you fill this? Is by you look into deeper of you. So let me give you an example. When my mom died, my heart was just broken. My mom was my best friend. We did all kinds of stuff together. We were super close. And she just went to sleep one night and didn't get up in the morning. It was a huge shock. And all of a sudden, there was this huge gap in my life. Huge gap. And the grief was just unbearable at first. I didn't want to do anything. It takes a while. And as I sat in the grief and I felt this deep cavern in my heart, I looked a little deeper and I said, you know what? She's still here. Literally, she's in my DNA. She's in my body. I am of her. She's still here. I'm made of her. She's in my DNA. And all the things she taught me, all the things she experienced are in me. Those tools, those memories, they don't go anywhere. And then I started looking a little bit deeper even. My mom, I think, was one of the strongest women that has ever lived. The stuff that she had to go through, just kind of very briefly, but my father died when I was a year old. She was pregnant with my sister. My sister ended up having a lot of health issues. I mean, that's just 1 year of her life. That was a lot. That took a lot to recover from. She'd had polio when she was young, and that took years to recover from. And really, she never let it get her down. They said she'd never learn how to walk. She did. They said she'd never have a baby. She did. She had 2. Everything they told her she would never do, she did. She said, no way. What's this in my eye? Sorry. And nothing really got to my mom. She just seemed to be able to handle whatever life came to her. And she was amazing. She was inspiration. And she never said the word, I can't. There was a lot of things that she couldn't do, but she never said, I can't. We had other relatives that as soon as they hit 50, it was, oh, I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't do this. Lists of I can'ts grew and grew and grew and grew. My mother never said, I can't. And I started looking at what I admired in her the most. And that's a big one. Her strength. And I started looking at, how much do I have of that in me? And I have a lot of strength. And I owe it to my mother that I have that strength. And so as I looked deeper inside, I kept finding more of her in me. And that's how I came out of the grief. And with that came a new appreciation for myself and for the good parts of me. It's so easy for us to kind of drag ourselves down and criticize ourselves, but we're all wonderful. We all have special magic. We all have these amazing talents and good points and struggles that we've overcome. And we need to celebrate those. And so that's what I did. And as a result of that, I felt more at home in my body. I felt more confident in who I was. And when you do that, your style changes a little bit too, because you've grown. I grew. And so that meant I had to do some stuff around my house. My favorite thing, right? But our homes truly are a reflection of who we are. And so when we change, as we grow, our homes have to change to reflect that. And death is a great growing experience. And I truly believe I've been through this many times myself. I've seen it happen many times. There's always a silver lining. And in my mother's case, her death was her last gift to me. It really was. And it took me a while to see that. But as I've just described to you, how I got to see more of me, I would not have seen that if she hadn't died. So, in many ways, she gave me to me. And that was her last gift as she let go, was to give me. And it was so amazing. So there's always a growth experience with death. And we always change and grow and become better if we choose to. You can also choose to stay in grief and stay stuck. We're not going to talk about that right now. But that's where I come in then, is I say, hey, look, let me show you how beautiful you are. Let me be that mirror of what is the best parts of you that in that grief, in your grief, you don't see. You're not seeing it because you're clouded by, sadness. So whenever there's a big change, we go through this growth spurt. And one of the things I like to say, when you get all done, you get your wings. I have a big dragonfly picture in the other room, and it's so you get your wings, and it's wonderful, right? And so that's what I help people to do, is to get their wings back. Let's get out of that grief. Let's get out of stuck. And let's find joy again. Let's appreciate the best parts of who you are, of who your home is, and find your style. Because it's not what I do best. It's not what do I want to live in. It's what is going to make you feel more alive. What's going to give you your wings? That is what good design is about, in my opinion. Yeah, I make homes pretty, but it's so much deeper, because their home is a reflection of you. And when your home reflects you, and when your home has all of the really wonderful things that you need to feel safe, to feel warm, to feel loved, then you're going to feel hugged by your home. And your home has a personality too. It wants to protect you. It wants to make you feel safe and feel loved. And when you give when you give your home the tools to do that, you both come alive. And then you develop a whole new relationship with your home, one you never knew you could have. So that's the magic of feeling hugged by your home. You're never alone. There's always your house there that makes you feel good. All right. So I think that's my points for the day. I don't see any questions. So, yes, Mark. Oh, you're on mute.
There,
You're still
I
on
made
mute.
a producing the faux pas. But definitely, I was glad to hear this story of the home and the home hugging you. And yes, the home is oftentimes where you feel comfortable and relaxed. I know that oftentimes when I go to my mom's house, she's got all kinds of big chairs and big couches. And of course, we were just talking yesterday because she's got a swimming pool that she actually got covered. And I know that that is a part of her home routine because the swimming pool has to get covered during the fall and the winter. You're talking about the change in the seasons and all of that. So it is now kind of one of those things that you know that it is a change in the year because that's the time that she has to, get the swimming pool out from being revealed. It'll be revealed again next spring, and the boys will probably be out there swimming and enjoying it. But she was telling me that, and I know every time that I go to my mom's house, I definitely feel not just her love, but the love of that house because she's got all kinds of art on the wall. She's got, including from some artist friends of hers, including my dad, because I think she's got a couple of his pieces up, even though they've been divorced for years and all of that. And some of her accommodations that she's gotten in her work life and all in that space. And of course, she's got a couple of TVs around the house, and you just feel relaxed. And I know I was even looking at a picture, and I was feeling a little bit sad because it was a picture of family members at her house, and in that picture were a lot of the family members, including that uncle that I mentioned to you that passed not that long ago. So it was like looking at the picture and going like, wow, it was only a few years ago that all of us were there
Yeah.
together, and now some of those people are no longer here, but they live in our memories and they live in those photographs, and they definitely even live when we go to the house and all in that space. And at some point she may decide to downsize because she's been in that house, pretty much all her life, and it is a big house. And of course, one time when she was working, she was traveling a bit, but she has family members, including some sisters that live nearby. But she also has me and my brother down here. So at some point, she may downsize and move to be closer to her two sons as well as her grandkids, which is my two nephews and all of that. So, and so some of her other relatives, but I don't think that that'll be happening anytime in the near future, but it may happen. And that downsizing is something that can take place as well. And as you were talking about the house hugging you, I was thinking to myself, I was like, sometimes the house hugs you, but sometimes you also come in the house. And as I've oftentimes told you, I can sometimes be a messy Wessie. So as you were talking about the house hugging you, I was like, yes, usually I'm being hugged by the house and everything else. And then sometimes I'm having that guilt trip because I'm going around going like, oops, that room back there, which is my bedroom and everything, definitely needs some work. That room over there, namely the kitchen and everything, needs some work. That room back there, the living room, needs some work. We won't even talk about the bathroom because the bathroom might even need some towel work. And I know that that is part of the housework as well because these particular floors are standing up pretty well, but there's at least one tile over there that needs fixing and all of that. So as a person who's in the interior designing space, how can you encourage somebody that it's not really my property, it's the apartment's property, but I do want to be a proper steward of it? And sometimes you're so busy that you procrastinate and you don't get the things done that you probably need to get done. I know that I probably need to spend some more time on cleaning and even getting the house straight. I was actually talking to a friend of mine earlier on the phone call, and that's literally what they were doing. They were cleaning up their house because we were talking. They were like, yeah, because I was saying, you kind of got to go get busy with work. They're like, no, I'm cleaning the house. And I'm like, well, that's probably something I should be doing, but I know later on I've got to run and take care of some financial matters. So it won't get done right in the afternoon, but hopefully it'll get done, at least some of it, this weekend and all of that. But it can get frustrating because I had a bookshelf. It was the bookshelf back here, and I like that bookshelf as part of my interior designing. And I constructed the bookshelf because one of those put together bookshelves, unfortunately, if something is put together, it can also eventually fall apart. So I'm actually staring at some books that are sitting on my desk because they don't have a home. They need to get a new bookshelf, and I need to get that bookshelf because the old bookshelf, it's missing too many parts for me to fix it. So, and I don't know how to fix it. So I need to get me a more comfortable bookshelf, maybe just a regular old plastic, or not plastic, but metal bookshelf that doesn't have as much danger of falling apart, so I can put the books back and they can be a nice little back frame for the show that I do and all of that. So all of that rambling was to say, what do you do when you got somebody like me that's a procrastinator?
Oh my goodness. Okay. So one of the things is maybe instead of looking at, oh, I've got to clean, we all have that, right? But it's a way to love your home back. If your home's doing all this to love you, how you love your home back is by keeping it clean.
Gotcha.
And the other thing too is like, instead of beating yourself up over what's not done, just say, you know what? Today set a schedule for yourself. It's like, I'm going to clean one room today,
Right.
and that's okay. And the next day you clean another room, and the next day you put the bookcase together. Um, it's really important to declutter and to go through and cleaning. And for me personally, I do it one of two ways.
Mm-hmm.
There are times when I'm just like, okay, I just got to get the desk cleared. I just got to clean out the drawer. And sometimes you got to just start small and say, like, okay, I got this pile. This pile's got to be gone through. That's it.
Right.
And focus on what you can do. Because one of the things too about once you start doing the decluttering, once you start doing it, it gets a little contagious.
Oh yeah.
Right? So
No,
like maybe you got 3 days of dishes in the sink and you're like, oh, I just can't face it, right? But it's amazing once you start putting them away. It's like, oh, well, now the counter's kind of cluttered. Okay, that's just going to take me a couple minutes. So you put that away. And then now you've got one room done. And then you look at the dining room and go, oh, well, that's just going to be like, that just 2 more minutes, just 2 more. So like it gets a little contagious. And as you start seeing it clean, then and it feels good, and then the house kind of comes in and says, oh, I like that.
Right.
Then it makes you want to do more. So it's kind of like exercising. It's like nobody gets up. Well, okay, I don't get up and go, oh, I need to go for a walk today.
Right.
I mean, I need to go for a walk today, but I don't want to go for a walk today.
Right.
And once I start walking or once I start doing the workout, my body's so happy.
Oh, the body's so happy, and you're so right, because you were saying that, I was thinking to myself, because one of the tasks that I sometimes, well, there are a couple of tasks that I procrastinate on, and then I'll start, and then I'll get them going, and then I'll stop, and then I'll get them going again. But they are simple tasks, but they can also be very informative tasks. Like I have, through my life, collected a lot of business cards. So I know yesterday I was actually putting some of those business cards into the computer database so that I can get rid of some of those business cards. Now, some of the business cards are kind of cute, so they may wind up staying in the collection, but at least instead of, let's say, 10,000, I don't even know how many cards I got, but let's just say 10,000 or 1,000 or whatever, I might get it down to a more manageable number, like a couple of hundred. Now, a card like this, which looks kind of a little bit cute, it might wind up staying because it looks like a cute card and all of that, and it has a cuteness factor. So sometimes that cuteness can be hard to get rid of, but there are some other cards where like, all right, I've got the information's in the computer, I can do that and get rid of it. And the same, we won't even talk about my emails, because I've got thousands and tens of thousands and maybe even hundreds of thousands of emails. But I will set a goal to get rid of a certain amount of those emails a day. And like you said, sometimes you have to start off small, get rid of what you can't get rid of, and begin the process of decluttering even that email list and all of that. But I got one of those
celebrate what you've done too. It's like, hey, I accomplished this today. It's okay. Like, I got 4 rooms, I got 10 rooms, whatever it is. I got 1 room clean.
Right.
Okay. Tomorrow's another day. You can do another room.
Yep.
And instead of going, oh, well, I got 1 room clean, but now I still got 9 more to go. Oh my God. It's like, I got 1 room clean. And so maybe you don't, like if that's the living room, maybe you clean the living room first.
Right.
And then you got 1 room clean, and then you can spend the day in the living room celebrating the fact that it's clean. And then you just don't go in the dining room. But then the next day you do the dining room, and then you make sure you eat in the dining room, and you go, okay, this is what the room's for. I can go enjoy it, So you got to celebrate, you got rid of how many cards? That's huge.
Right.
And you put them all on the computer. After a while, I just dump them. They go in the trash. It's like, I haven't called these people in I don't know how many years. It's trash. So that's huge. And so you got to celebrate that you threw away 10,000 business cards and you put them in the computer. That's an amazing feat.
Right. Well, there was not that many, but there was a few. But it's 10,000 emails that I've got to get through.
10,000 emails.
But and I've definitely got rid of probably thousands. And that was a major feat, getting rid of thousands and thousands of emails. But we won't even talk about how many I've got to still get rid of and all of that. But the question I had that comes up in the housing market and in the designing market, I'd love to know your thoughts about it. Is I think I mentioned this mattress that I still got to get rid of, because at this point it's pretty much lived its usefulness and all of that. And it was kind of like one of those portable mattresses, or I forgot what they're called, but they're like the portable kind that you can use if you got a guest and all in that. And it's probably too dirty, so I'm probably just going to wind up taking it to the dumpster and they can toss it wherever they wind up tossing it. But people oftentimes like used aspects of used furniture, and I was just wondering, in your own design background, if you like using used furniture, or is that something that you're not a big fan of? Because I know some people that would sit there and sometimes they even find some novel uses. I remember my dad, this was years ago, he found like some concrete bricks and like some nice wood that he found out in the area, and he made that into this wonderful, basically coffee table. And that's what he found, just using the parts that he made, that he found when he was out and about doing some things in the neighborhood that we were living in at the time. That might have been Greensboro. I don't remember when we actually did that one, but I remember he did that. And they also, when we were very young, or when they're probably preteens, I remember, and I think it's been destroyed now, it's so many decades ago, but they basically built like a geodesic house. And that house actually stayed even many years after we left it. And I think we might have lived in it for, I won't say maybe a year, if that, but I don't remember that aspect of the building of the house, but I do know that it was geodesic. But I was just wondering, because you mentioned the different styles, and I was wondering whether you had any friends that were into the used furniture space, and if that's something that you like to do even in your own designing, whether you go to thrift stores, because I know thrift stores will have a lot of things. We've got an agency here that helps people that are in drug programs and all of that, and it's called TROSA, and they'll also help you move. So like if you were to move from California to here, they'll go all the way out to California to get you and move you over here, because that's what TROSA moving
Wow.
does, and all of that, because they will move all over the country. And they also have like a furniture aspect. But I was just wondering your thoughts around used furniture.
Well, I personally love antiques. So one of my favorite things is to go through antique stores and find unique pieces.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I have no problem with used furniture. I think most of the pieces in my house are antiques. This room's a little bit of an exception. The sofa behind me is a oh, I can't do that. Um, it's made to look old. It is not old. I worked for a furniture company for a while, and so I did actually get that one new, but it's made to look old. But most of my furniture is antiques because I love finding unique stuff that way. Um, so it depends on what my clients want. I can find new stuff. I can find old stuff. The only thing, if it's wood, I'm fine with anything that's wood.
Mm-hmm.
It's dining chairs. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of the older chairs, they just have the seat that's real easy to reupholster.
Right.
I don't like used upholstery because
Oh,
you
yeah.
don't know what, who, where, you know, dogs have peed on it.
Right.
Kids have peed on it. I mean, there's like you just don't know what's happened on
Right.
the chair. And yes, you can clean it and everything. Um, it's just not. So a sofa, if I were to get a used sofa, I would probably replace the cushions and reupholster it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Probably the same thing with a used bed. I was fortunate because this, not this particular apartment, but the first apartment I lived in this complex, I got it because they wanted a co-leasing person, because they were actually from another country and they were going back to that country. And I don't know if they ever came back and got their degree, because, like I said, they just needed somebody to take over the last part of their lease, and what the rest of the story is from their standpoint. I never found out. I think I got a couple of pieces of mail from them and all of that. But yes, I did kind of inherited some of their furniture, including some of the stuff from the bedroom. But they were definitely very cleanliness oriented, and definitely
yeah,
did not seem to be all that active, if I can just put it that way, and everything. So I didn't feel like I was stepping into a mess. Whereas there are some other people that you might get their bed and furniture, and you might be like, well, I'm definitely changing this mattress.
right,
I don't know what y'all have been doing with the mattress.
right. I mean, it's if you know somebody, if you know kind of what I've inherited furniture from relatives. That's a little different story. But if you know, and there are some places that they specialize in used furniture, and it's nice furniture, and they don't take anything unless they've inspected it well. You
Right.
can tell what's there, but um I'm a little bit more skeptical about used upholstered furniture. That's all.
No, I definitely understand that. Like you say, because you don't know what people have been doing with their furniture and all of that. And of course, some of the furniture, like the bed and other things, can also have wear and tear, and even couches can have wear and tear. You
Yeah.
mentioned dogs and the cats and the other animals; they can sit there and jump on it and leap on it, and eventually it will collapse, kind of like the bookshelf did, and all of that. So the wear and tear can definitely have an impact on the furniture as well. So definitely, I've thoroughly enjoyed the conversation, but that was just one of the quick things that I had for you and everything as I was listening. But I
Awesome.
do love the idea of hugging of the house and hugging in general, because cuddling and hugging is something that I enjoy doing. As you said, we've not been doing enough of it, but when I'm
Right. I
with
think
people
we
and
all
around
need to
people,
have
I
that
love
hug.
a good hug, because a good hug, there's nothing like a real hug, and not one of those play hugs the way you were describing it, and one of
Yeah.
those, high five kind of I'm half hugging you kind of hugs and all that. But I like you like a real hug, and it does make you feel warm and comfortable. And even if you're the one doing the hugging, it can also give you a sense that you are giving a sense of comfort to those people, and they like to fall into the arms and fall into you into the hug. So yes, a hug is like a very important aspect of life.
It is. And I'd like to invite anybody who's watching, if they want to know what it'd be like to feel hugged by their home, to give me a call at thecolorwhisperer.com. My phone number, my email are there. And if you mention this video, I'll give you $100 off.
Wow, that's a great discount. So that is amazing. So mention the video, you can get $100 off, and at some point we're gonna even get some commercials from Jen from Jeanette, so that I can add them on to other shows as well, because that's what we're doing. It's slipping different things. So definitely we'll have to make that happen as well, so that it can not just air on this show, but it can also air on some of the other shows here on Pod TV. And by the way, I do know that the founders have been watching the show, and they definitely enjoy your comments and your conversation. And I was actually talking to on text while you were doing your opening of the show to the lady that does the blonde and the little Indian, which is around art, but it is also around grief. So that is part of what the show is about, and that is on. Matter of fact, I got to get the video from her to upload it, but that is on um, Saturday morning. So it'll be tomorrow morning. They didn't do one last week, but they taped, I think, 2 or 3 shows. So it will be on tomorrow at 10. And it's all about dealing with grief, which is kind of what you were talking about, even
Yeah,
with your mom. So I was telling her
it's
that in
important.
our text, and that is Nicole Barron and her friend, that may be her next significant other, named Matt, and all of that, because they are part of their journey has been dealing with grief, because they are both widowers, but at the same time, they have now found each other and are working together to figure out how they can. Well, right now they're business partners, but eventually they may be together, because right now they got to deal with that lovely thing called distance. And if you think California to North Carolina is a distance, or Seattle to New York is a distance, try India to, I believe it's like South Dakota, or one of them parts in the middle of the country, because he's in India and she's all the way in like the
Wow.
heartland of the United States. But they met through the widow group, and like I said, have found a bond, and do seem to have a strong relationship together that may wind up being the second marriage for both of them at some point or another. Not putting any
Cool.
words in their mouth, but who knows? It could happen that way. Cool.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, I'm getting ready to get us on out of here. Like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed your show. You always do an amazing job. I'm just glad to be able to provide you the platform every Friday at 2. And like I said, you always do a great job. You just have such
Thank
a
you.
great energy, great stories to tell. And I do love your storytelling ability as well. So I think I'm going to get out here with a couple of PSAs, because that's one of the other things we do. And I've got a couple of PSAs that I think folks will be interested in, including, I think, one that deals with foster care, if I remember correctly, and all of that, because I grabbed them from the
That's
ad council. So get ready to
so
get out of
important.
here with some very important ads and all along those lines, or PSAs, I should say. So Jeanette, it's always great seeing you. And like I said, look forward to our conversation again next week. And you know that you can always reach out to me. And I hope people will take you up on that offer, $100 discount, if they mention this particular video, which will air several times, because we do air them over the course of the week. So it's going to be enough times for people to hear this offer and to take advantage of the offer. So do remember that, and take advantage of the offer. And they don't have to be in California, right? They can be
You
anywhere
do
in the
not. I
world.
do virtual work. I can do it all on the computer. It's really amazing and fun.
Cool. So they can be anywhere in the world.
Anywhere in the world.
Cool. Well, on that note, let's check out these PSAs, and I hope you'll stick around and watch them with me. But let's check out these and get on out of here.
This place that I call
Everyone explaining to her that you
Attacks against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders are on the rise.
My simple solution to the problem was remove people from the scene and help them feel safer. In terms of the hate crimes, I think there is so much more work to be done. We really need to come together and tackle this issue as a community.